Big Brother 27 live feeds, the houseguests give Will the bad news. There is a reason why the pawns go home phrase is so memorable in Big Brother. Sometimes, it comes true. The players that seem the safest can suddenly become the target or a casualty of the Big Brother wars. For weeks, the houseguests have been saying Will is so liked that anyone sitting next to him goes home. He's everyone's favorite man in the house. This means he's well liked, but not necessarily someone you want to go too far with in the game. Likeability is half the equation to win the game. It's not the only factor, but it can help sway players one direction or another. Houseguests have lost by simply being likable enough. When Lauren nominated Will, Morgan, and Ashley, Morgan was her target. When Morgan won the veto, Keanu became her target, and maybe always potentially was. However, most houseguests assumed that Ashley would be evicted if sitting next to Will on Thursday night. Despite feeling a bit defeated after Rachel's eviction, Ashley campaigned to Morgan to stay. She mentioned how she would be more of an asset to Morgan's game than Will. She thought she at least had the potential to win competitions, which could help Morgan stay in the game longer. But the biggest thing that shifted the votes in Ashley's favor is Keanu's newfound grudge against Lauren. He doesn't want her to get the satisfaction of a successful head of household reign. This means she would take out the person she least wanted to see go, similar to her first head of household reign. Keanu knows Will's likability would also make people upset to see Lauren take him out. Keanu wants to keep Ashley this week. So with Morgan and Keanu in her corner, Ashley just needs one more vote to stay. Ava and Kelly are seemingly locked votes to keep Will. This means that Vince controls who goes this week. However, he's already upset Morgan this week by picking Lauren over her to compete in the hamster wheel competition. He doesn't seem like he wants to betray her again this week. Therefore, he most likely votes out Will. On Tuesday, Ava began to suspect Will would be voted out. She told Lauren about her fears. On Wednesday, Ava finally got some confirmation from Vince that the vote was not in Will's favor. Ava said she understood if he needed to vote out Will to protect his game. Nevertheless, she asked him to please inform Will so he isn't blindsided tomorrow. This would also give him a chance to fight for his Big Brother life. After this conversation, Vince told Will the bad news. Will took it in a very Will way, and he didn't show much emotion. He acted fine with it. He then also talked to Ava, Morgan, and Kelly about the vote. He basically told all of them to do what was best for their games. Once alone, Will showed more emotion and his disappointment about potentially leaving the game tomorrow. He vented some about how his likability is going to cost him the Big Brother win. However, he also made peace with this fate and being too beloved. We don't expect Will to do too much more tonight and tomorrow to stay, but Vince doesn't seem completely set on keeping Ashley. It would depend on whether he could get Morgan to agree to the vote as well. Additionally, this may all become a moot point if Keanu loses the BB blockbuster. Then Keanu likely leaves unanimously. What was your reaction to the finale? Did you think Ashley would win in a 6-1 vote? Once I saw Morgan walk out and that she was the last juror, I had a feeling that Ashley was going to win by a landslide. Do you have any regrets or anything that you would change about this season? I want to say that my biggest regret would be how I handled Jimmy Hagarty, saying that everyone was calling me a liar. Obviously, that was the moment where I stood up and said I was going to pick everyone off one by one, so that made a huge target on my back that was intentional. However, the only reason I did that was to take the radar off other people that I was working with at the time, and only to find out that those people were also targeting me because I made my target a little too large. So definitely, if I get a chance to play again, I will not be doing that. You just mentioned coming back. Would you want to play again? Oh, absolutely, I'll go back in there right now. With the same cast or a new cast? New cast. Season 28, let's go right now. What are you looking forward to the most now that you're going home? Family? Sleep? Definitely looking forward to, I'm from Miami, so I'm going to go visit my family. Have some fun with them, but first, I gotta get some cuddles for my dog. So I'm probably going to spend a week at home there, outside of Dallas. But I'm just looking forward to just living life again. I feel like being in there. I took a lot of things for granted, even just going to my favorite breakfast spot every Sunday. I'm looking forward to that. So looking forward to some good hash browns. I haven't had good hash browns in a while. What is the biggest takeaway that you would say you learned from this experience? Man, I feel inclined to say that you don't have to change who you are. I know that there's like a stipulation. Oh, you've got to be a liar. You've got to do this to win this game. And I didn't win, so maybe it's not a winning formula, but even though I didn't win in the traditional sense, I do feel like a winner having America's heart. That's nothing to sneeze at. So, I definitely want to say to kids out there that may be reading this, you don't have to be something you're not. So that's my biggest takeaway. I really appreciate everyone who voted for me, and it definitely means a lot. Big Brother 27, sizing up the jury. If you've been keeping up with our Big Brother 27 spoilers, then you know that Morgan has officially made her way to finale night as the final four head of household. And more recently she won yet another veto, thus pretty much securing Vince's spot as well. The last question is whether or not Vince will take Ashley along with them instead of Ava. That is seeming very likely, so we likely have 6 of the 7 BB27 jurors figured out. So now let's take a look at each one and what we can predict they'll be looking for when they pick the winner. Juror 1, Rachel. Rachel is a Big Brother purist. She's going to vote based on gameplay. She remembers most people not voting personally in Big Brother 13, so she knows what that's like. Rachel will look at all sides, social, strategy and competition prowess. So, looking at the likely final 2 of Morgan and Vince, I think Morgan has Rachel's vote locked. If Ashley slips in there, though, I am not sure where Rachel's vote goes. She was closest to Ashley, so that could really throw things off for how Rachel would vote. I think she definitely votes Ashley over Vince, but I am not sure what she does with Ashley versus Morgan. Juror 2, Will. I don't think Will is going to dig very deep with his vote. He would vote Ashley, or Ava, over either Vince or Morgan. But if it's Morgan and Vince, Morgan has Will's vote, I think. Juror 3, Kelly. Who knows what Kelly would do? I think she is irritated enough at Vince to vote personally, but she also thinks of herself as a huge threat, so she might reward the fact that Vince got her out on his HOH. So I am going to say Kelly votes for Vince. Juror 4, Lauren. Lauren was burned by Vince many times in the season, but she always kept going back. I think Vince has her vote secured. I really can't see her respecting Morgan's game any more than she did when she was still in the house. Juror 5, Keanu. Keanu is voting for Vince. He never showed any sort of respect for any of the women this season. Sorry casual viewers, your guy was not the same person on the live feeds that you saw on TV, so I can't see him giving Morgan his vote even though Keanu did leave in Vince's HOH. And if Ava or Ashley were to sneak in there? I think he votes for either of them over Morgan, but not over Vince. Juror 6, Ava or Ashley. Even though we don't know who Juror 6 is yet, both of them will vote the same. They're going for Morgan over Vince 100%. And since the one of them who isn't Juror 6 will almost guaranteed end up Juror 7, we can count that as 2 votes for Morgan. So in this early assessment, I'm seeing Morgan winning 4-3 in a Morgan/Vince final 2. If Vince realizes he can probably beat Ava over Ashley, can he though? He might choose to keep Ava. In that case, I think Ava loses to Morgan or Vince. But who knows really? That's not a scenario I foresee happening, so I am not going to get into that any deeper. Big Brother 27, Morgan Pope on her biggest move, breaking records and more. Morgan Pope was a competition beast on Big Brother 27. She won 5 power of vetoes and 2 head of household competitions. This gave her the record of most consecutive weeks immune with 7, meaning she kept herself safe for 7 weeks in a row. She formed many alliances that kept her safe throughout the game and won when she needed to. She also got close to Vince Panaro in the house and stayed loyal him until the end. Although she became the last juror of the season, Morgan still has a lot to be proud of. Morgan talked to TV Insider about keeping her real profession a secret, Ashley cutting her relationship with Vince, and more. So I'm going to start off by saying, I don't know if you know this, but you now hold the record for the most consecutive rounds immune with 7. That means you were safe for 7 weeks in a row. That is the most since Ian Terry in season 14 with 5. Did you ever think that you would hold a record like that going into the game? No. It's funny because I remember when I won my vetoes in a row, and everyone's like, oh, you're on KC, Clark, status right now. And I'm like, you're going to compare me to KC, like what? And then when I couldn't win that 4th veto, at least I'll be compared to, not necessarily compared to KC, because she won the game, but the fact that they even mentioned her name next to mine, I was like, wow. But to think that I have a record I didn't even know that. I'm just learning this now. That is wow. I am shocked, honored, blessed, humbled. Like that is insanity. I don't know what